Alright, this is the Ace. Issue 2 of the Ace. MC2 miniseries starring a new super character that is J.K. Jonah Jameson-Simmons' grandson. Guest starring Spider-Woman herself, Marissa Parker. And here is another action shot opening splash image of our title character, the Ace. It is another picture very much indebted to Scoot O'Daniels' work on Nightbird. My review of the first issue had a comment that got under my skin, where the person was clearly incapable of deeper thought. Refused to see the comparison I made as legitimate. So, can we all agree, just to spite that one person, that this is very painstakingly apparent in its similarity to the style that was most identified with Scoot O'Daniels on Nightbird? I'm not asking you to say Ron Frenz ripped it off. It's just very clearly an influence on the art style that Frenz and Buscema are doing in this. And as I pointed out in that video, the writer, Tom Falcon, had worked with Scoot O'Daniels before, so it's within reason to suggest Tom Falcon proposed doing something similar. The Ace is, or the Ace was meant to be, a superhero funded by and under the guidance of J.K. Jonah Jameson-Simmons. An armoured suit was created and it was to be worn by a hand-picked candidate, but they died. And so Jack Jameson-Simmons took the costume for himself to honour and avenge the murder of the original Ace. There is a great remix of the Spider-Man vs. J.K. Jonah Jameson-Simmons paradigm. We have his grandson now as the hero that J.K. Jonah Jameson-Simmons believes is a menace. He doesn't know it is his grandson in the suit, and the Ace is framed as both a murderer and a thief for stealing the armour. Jack as an ally in all of this, or he does as of now, and that is Robert Son's Robert son, Richie. It is quite predictable and accessible fare, nothing earth-shattering, but competent and inoffensive. Where it stinks is where most the MC2 books stink. The villains just aren't there. I do hand it to Tom Falcon for not being as lame to just introduce sons and daughters of Spider-Man's villains, but what we get isn't much better. We do have a mystery villain whose identity is concealed from us. I am calling it, it's Dan Slott. Dan Slott is our villain, which makes sense because Dan Slott did ruin the MC2 universe. Sadly, I think a better idea would be Scorpius. That would tie in nicely with the history of J.K. Jonah Jameson-Simmons trying to establish a super champion. I don't think it will be though. It'll be the fat gerbil man. As much as I do like the recycled and expanded upon threat or menace setup, I don't think this issue actually does all that much with it. It doesn't seem to rest on Jack's mind at all. He's not bothered by it. he doesn't even comment on it. It is one of the richest ideas in the miniseries, and it is sorely underutilised. I would argue it's maybe even the strongest thing related to the Ace. This character, the Ace, he had appeared in Spider-Woman before this. The miniseries was fleshing out his character and telling us his backstory. Jack was in Spider-Woman 2. He was in Spider-Woman a lot. He attends the same school as Marissa Parker, and he was one of the original love interests for her. I don't know, I might be completely wrong here, but I think this miniseries maybe is where we learned that Jack is the Ace. The Ace had appeared in 2 issues of Spider-Woman. Issue 18, which is listed as his first appearance, but it's not, and issue 22. But Jack appeared way earlier than both of those. The Ace appeared in a teaser too, and I'm sure there was a backup story. I remember when I was looking for stuff for cutaways in the review of the first issue, the Ace made his actual debut in a very short preview backup in, I want to say, the Spider-Woman annual, maybe. Anyway, this page tells us we are caught up. This is where those appearances in Spider-Woman's comic happen within the Ace's chronology. We also pay lip service to Jack and Marissa Parker being will they, won't they partners. Our villain, though, doesn't even have a name. She doesn't have a supervillain name. We just call her by a real name throughout. Sonya Jade, which sounds too much like Sonya Blade. It really doesn't help when it comes to trying to build up a universe to not even have a name for a villain. Here's an idea, straight from my mind to yours. You have to ignore that I am calling this character the Ace. But how's this for a bad guy's name for this character? Buzzkill. I think it's a bit silly, but it works better than constantly calling her Mrs. Jade. Something else that doesn't help in the long term is having Spider-Woman get involved and actually do the heavy lifting. I love the character, she is brilliant, but I think the Ace, something like the Ace, needs to stand on its own if you're giving it a miniseries. A cameo, sure, I think a cameo is fine. And considering the proximity of the two characters, you can do a lot with Spider-Woman in the Ace, but this feels too much like a lack of confidence, that they need Spider-Woman to actually help sell or interest anyone in the Ace. I suppose there is a common reliance on her throughout the MC2 universe, and it makes sense. She is the best character and the face of this line of comics. I think a character that can stand on their own would have been more exciting, and there are some elements of the Ace that I think are good. What happens is our mystery villain, probably Dan Slott, takes control of the Ace's suit and makes him attack Spider-Woman. Big respect to Tom Falcon for actually having the Ace explain to Spider-Woman that someone else is controlling his suit. I will fucking applaud that writing. And this issue, I do like this overall. Part of the problem with me reviewing MC2 books is I don't think I am ever going to ace one. Even when they're a bit bland or forgettable, not that this is, they are always harmless. They are too nice and endearing to ever be bad. On that topic, what else do we have out at this time? This is the first instance where we have looked at what was out where... Well, normally I begin with whatever is listed that I have. None this time. Not a single thing. This was 2000, early 2000. We have seen a lot of 1997 and 1998 in videos. And with those years, I normally always had 1 or 2 comics that were listed. In the 2 years since then, we're down to none. Really, Marvel quickly went to shit in 1998, and this is the aftermath of that. I think the most appealing one here, the one I would read, or the one I would get if I had to get one, is Ed Gambit 19. That is during the story arc where all the assassins are trying to kill Ed Gambit. Could be fun. I think that is the one with the Jim Starman cover too. Fabio Nicieza writes, Yannick at the Disco does the interiors. That is a comic I think I can suitably say I might not hate. The rest, fucking hell. Avengers 31, Kurt Busey, that's a story where he butchers Madam Masking Tape. New name right there, Madam Masking Tape. We also have something else, Dead Pills by Topher Proust. A horrible run, that. This is issue 43. I think it was this run where Dead Pills first became staggeringly unfunny, gratingly annoying. Further down this list of mostly reprints and movie tie-ins, we also have Warren Fallis's dismal remix of Excellent Force 105, the run where they don't call each other by code names anymore because that is too corny and cape shit, and now they are led by Warren Fallis in an eye patch. He as much as killed the book dead. The rest is tat, really. Everything except Ed Gambit and reprints is tat. Really wouldn't want anything else. Probably Dan Slott sends the ace to attack J.K. Jonah Jameson and his wife. And this obviously will worsen the threat or menace agenda. This page is also our cover. I like it when it turns out covers are actually completely something that happens inside. No symbolic interpretation or representation. It's just a thing that does happen. Jack, he pulls a gambit. Not an Ed Gambit, a regular gambit. This is also exactly what I would do, but for the wrong reasons. He jumps off a building, prepared to kill himself, rather than let the villain control him anymore. It is a bluff to get probable Dan Slott to surrender control of the suit. And it works. He is free and in control himself so that he can pull away last minute. And now, the Ace and Spider-Woman, they are going to track the bad guy down. I bet it is Dan Slott. I like this. I find it odd to not like it more after seeing it was on the shelves, with stuff as wretched as Topher Proust's Dead Pills or Kurt Busey's Avengers. This really is. I don't think anyone is going to become the world's biggest fan of the Ace, but it is so much better intentioned and sincere than its contemporary Marvel mags. 7 thumbs up.